Surrey Cloverdale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise here in the House today in support of the motion made by the member from Vancouver-Kensington. We've heard many stories of women in the male-dominated industries. My story today, during Women's History Month, is that of a West Coast pioneer, Ada Annie Jordan. Ada was born on June 19th, 1888 in Sacramento, California. After stops all over the globe, her family finally settled in Vancouver in 1909. That same year, Ada was married in September to Willie Ray Arthur. He was 36, she was 21. Their first child was born later in September of the next year, the second one 16 months after that, then 19 months after the third child came in October of 1913. Early in the 1900s in Vancouver's Chinatown was known for their opium dens. Unfortunately, Willie was attracted to those opium dens and soon found himself not wanting to go to work. Willie's doctor told Ada that his drinking and his drugs are endangering his life. The doctor also said, "Willie, you must remove yourself from all temptation." Ada decided to move from Vancouver to a remote piece of wilderness on the west coast of Vancouver Island, north of Tofino, called Boat Basin. In 1915, they packed up their 3 children and everything they had to make this journey. On June 9th of 1915, Ada and Willie put an application to preempt land in Boat Basin. The maximum area for preemption was 160 acres, and the land had to be used for agricultural purposes. ALR uses before the ALR was ever established. Interesting. The odds of altering lands like this into a garden were dismal, but this is where the strength and fortitude Ada begins to change the landscape, literally. Imagine, if you will, using whipsaws to clear a 5-acre piece of land so you can start your gardens in a rainforest. Imagine the ingenuity Ada would have to come up with to provide earnings and food for her family to survive. Imagine those next 16 years where Ada would give birth to 8 more children, and unfortunately 3 would not survive. This is the point in time that people started recognizing Ada with a legendary name. For the first 8 years in Boat Basin, Ada was working the lands while Willie tended to the children. Ada cleared these 5 acres, stumps and all, and was soon producing fruit and vegetables. She was raising chickens, goats, pigs, rabbits, guinea pigs for a hospital in Vancouver. When she first arrived, she had visions of a plant and bulb nursery. Ada had begun growing dahlias, roses, and a host of bulbs and tubers. She opened up a general store and a post office. These 3 enterprises were essential in helping transform this stump farm into a very original working garden. And I'll take a step back with regards to Ada and her legendary name. As you can imagine, with livestock such as chickens and goats and pigs on the property, there are predators that are looking for a free meal. Cougars were plenty on the west coast of Vancouver Island. What I failed to mention at the beginning was Ada was an excellent shot, and having good aim with a shotgun was necessary to keep the cougars from killing her stock. Often Ada would take the cougar pelts to the local market for sale, and it was at that time Ada now became Cougar Annie. There have been all kinds of stories about the numbers of cougars that she had dispatched while protecting her farm interests. Unfortunately, July of 1936, Willie had died, and his death certificate indicated an accidental drowning. Willie was buried at Cougar Annie's gardens near the back gate, not far from the graves of 3 of Cougar Annie's infant children. Cougar Annie would go on to outlive 3 other husbands. Husband number 2 was where the legend of Cougar Annie becomes somewhat mythical. The records indicate that his death was accidental, and the cause was described as he was cleaning his rifle. Some will say that that's physically impossible. Nevertheless, as time passes, the truth will slowly fade away. As her eyesight faded, her marksmanship faded as well. She made 2 trips to Vancouver for cataract surgery. It was during these 2 trips that I had the opportunity to meet her. The first time was when I was in high school, and she looked at my hands and commented I didn't have the hands of somebody that worked hard. The second time when I met her, I was in college, and she was truly appreciative of the fact that I was getting an education that would better my life. I know I didn't mention it earlier, but Cougar Annie was my great-grandmother. As a 5-year-old, I remember lying in bed at my grandmother's house, looking up at the attic ceiling, seeing one of those cougars mounted with big glass eyes and a mouth wide open showing its fangs. How I ever slept is still a mystery to me. Today, the homes, the post office, the various sheds and garden structures are weathered from rains and the winds of the West Coast. Peter Buckland bought the land from Cougar Annie in 1981. In exchange, he would care for her in her final years. Peter has preserved these gardens with great pride. The gardens of Cougar Annie will hopefully continue on forever. Last month, my partner and I toured the gardens with Peter, and we learned a few more things about my great-grandmother, and so did he. If you go to boatbasin.org, you'll see a society has been formed to help protect and maintain the gardens that my great-grandmother, Ada Annie, began 106 years ago. And today, I proudly stand in the house and share my story of my great-grandmother.